Tonight on the NTV Evening News Hour. As the trade war heats up between Canada and the U.S., how will it affect the fishery?
Probably more difficult times ahead before it gets better.
NL Hydro CEO Jennifer Williams speaks for the first time about the new Churchill Falls MOU.
So it's been an intense period, but I think what we have now is a better deal.
And the city of St. John's reports a small surplus for last year.
Thursday is looking pretty good right across the province, even extends into Friday for a large portion of it. And then we have a little bit of rain to talk about to kick off the weekend. We'll go through the province as a whole coming up.
The award-winning NTV Evening News Hour with Tony Marie Wiseman, Michael Connors, and your weather forecast with Ryan Harding.
Good evening. The war of words continues to heat up in the trade war between Canada and the United States.
Here in this province, another sector facing uncertainty is the seafood industry. NTV's Bailey Howard has tonight's top story.
A 25% tariff on American seafood imports was announced on Tuesday as part of a long list of 700 items Canada is counter-tariffing.
Probably more difficult times ahead before it gets better.
On the list of seafood imports subject to the surtax are live fish, salmon, tuna, and more. Business owner Danny Dumaresque says one species that will be heavily impacted in Canada is lobster.
There's a significant part of the $1.2 billion of seafood that Canadians import is lobster from Maine going across the border to be reprocessed in Canadian plants.
Labrador Gem Seafoods has worked to diversify its market to Europe and Asia. But like many businesses, Dumaresque says they've also had to put pen to paper to work through calculations and carefully plan their investments in the face of uncertainty. With the back and forth between the two countries, it's unclear whether the U.S. will take another swing at Canada's seafood industry as it did in 2025, which Dumaresque says makes it challenging for businesses to make investments and plan for the future. For now, Labrador Gem Seafoods is setting its sights on more automation to increase productivity, as well as upgrades to freezing and cold storage.
In our case, some of the bigger expenditures you're probably going to put off for a couple of years until you see where the dust settles.
Despite the looming uncertainty, Dumaresque says he supports Prime Minister Mark Carney's position, one that was echoed by Federal Industry Minister Melanie Joly in Alberta today.
We are in a position of strength. And in these circumstances, we'll continue to fight because Canada is worth fighting for.
You cannot let the bully win.
Dumaresque looks forward to hearing more details on the $7.5 billion in support for businesses and workers announced Tuesday. Bailey Howard, NTV News.
The tariff conversation is happening in many other industries too. On the West Coast, one MHA is calling for the province to provide more support. NTV's Becky Daly has that story.
The questions and concerns continue to mount for many businesses.
I'm worried about supply chain. I'm worried about the future. Should I expand? Should I invest? So as a small business owner, yeah, that's one of the many challenges we have.
Supporting those businesses is the next task at hand, which one local MHA says can be challenging with so much red tape involved.
If there's anything I would bring up in the House for Assembly, it will be asking the Premier and the ministers involved to ensure that the funding is flowing properly, it is done in a timely manner, and that is not being held up for some small reason, that get the money flowing for the businesses so they can continue on.
I think anybody who's in small business can say that they're struggling. I know we do every day. It's always a new struggle. So how many exact businesses are here in Western Newfoundland? I don't know that number, but you know, there's a lot, and we are the backbone of this part of the province.
And amid all the uncertainty, many residents are hoping to see the revitalization plan through for Corner Brook Pulp and Paper.
They're one of our biggest employers here on the West Coast, or in Corner Brook, and we all know that they have a new project they're taking on. Corner Brook Board of Trade supports that project. All small businesses here support that project, and we're hoping these tariffs don't affect them.
Well, if you think about the lumber part, Burton's brings a lot of wood chips to Cormac Pulp and Paper. And without the wood chips, and they're after laying off people, about the wood chips, it'd be questionable if the Cormac Pulp and Paper would be able to operate.
The ripple effects of the tariff war will be felt in many industries, which could only add to the struggle to make ends meet.
So we need to look for some ways to alleviate the cost of living for a lot of residents who right now are on the borderline. And every time there's a tariff, that borderline gets smaller and smaller for them to survive.
NTV News reached out to Corner Brook Pulp and Paper's parent company Kruger for comment. However, they denied our request at this time. Meanwhile, independent MHA Eddie Joyce is hoping these crucial conversations will continue when the House of Assembly reopens. For NTV News, I'm Becky Daly in Corner Brook.
For the first time since the new Churchill Falls agreement was signed, one of its negotiators is speaking to media. NL Hydro CEO Jennifer Williams sat down today with NTV's Ben Cleary to discuss why she thinks this MOU is better than the old one.
And I believe that we have achieved what was asked of us in those set of priorities: more value, more transmission, more power. So it's been an intense period, but I think what we have now is a better deal.
Jennifer Williams, the CEO of NL Hydro, helped negotiate both of the recent Churchill Falls deals: Andrew Furey's MOU with Quebec back in 2024 and Premier Tony Wakeham's agreement just a few weeks ago. Wakeham's agreement is better, says Williams, for a few reasons, like the fact the province gets more money sooner rather than later. The federal government is involved this time around, and there's ability to sell power to Hydro-Quebec based on prices being received from places like New York and New England.
We have the option to use it for economic development. If we don't use it for economic development, we can also choose to sell it back to Quebec at 150% of the price. We can choose it to sell it at the price of into New York, which is now 8 cents a kilowatt hour, materially different than the spot market price. We can choose to sell it into New England, which is also higher than the spot market price. And then we can choose the synthetic price, which is a mix of the markets if we wanted to.
The opposition was critical of the new agreement. Liberal leader John Hogan says one of the details in the 2024 MOU was an escalating price for the Gull Island project. But under the new agreement, the price at the yet-to-be-built mega project will go down over time. But Williams says that may not be a bad thing, especially for business in Labrador, being able to access cheaper power from Gull Island.
So I actually think there's a benefit if people put on a hat of not just called anti-Quebec, you put on a hat of how are we going to supply economically customers in Labrador. Having access to that lower price at Gull Island is actually really beneficial to the province and to the customers that we're going to have in Labrador mines and all the economic development that comes with that.
The new agreement is expected to be made final by the end of 2026. But why not wait to get a better deal? The 1969 Churchill Falls contract expires in 2041. That's the deal that sells power to Quebec for almost nothing. Williams says she doesn't believe time is on our side with regards to leverage. Instead, it is against us, because Quebec is a solution finder and they will look elsewhere.
Then you say, okay, if we were also to wait, we don't have access to power in Labrador. So we don't get economic development in Labrador. We don't get jobs that are associated with that. We don't get the revenue to the Treasury. All of those aspects become not true if we decide to choose to wait.
Ben Cleary, NTV News.
The provincial government reaffirmed its commitment today to the wharf infrastructure in Lewisporte with a $14 million investment. NTV's Colleen Lewis has more.
The province has committed to the redevelopment of the Lewisporte wharf in Budget 2026. Today, Minister Barry Petton was in the community to reaffirm the $14 million commitment.
Through an agreement to transfer the wharf and associated lands, along with an additional $4 million in provincial support over several fiscal years, we are providing the town of Lewisporte with the tools and resources needed to advance its vision for port redevelopment. This increase of $4 million from the funding already committed brings the total provincial commitment for this initiative to $14 million.
The redevelopment has been in the planning stages for years, but now the town says with this investment, They expect to see activity here within 3 years.
What happens next for us? Well, there's a few government pieces that need to happen, of course. The port now is divested to us, and we will have to do work on the transfer agreement, and then we will look to industry. And as you know, some of those things have been happening in the background anyway, but we'll be able to advance it forward knowing that the port will indeed be operational.
The port is known as the gateway to the north, and the town says they've identified opportunities for ferry services, an offshore oil and gas supply base, and they've also been working to attract the cruise ship industry. The Chamber of Commerce says it's been a long time coming. They're anxious to see what's next.
Thing now is where the money is going to be spent, how it's going to be spent, and how we're going to be able to move forward, because as the chamber president, I'd like to know some of the answers too, so that we can help the town move this forward, so that we can bring in as much new business as we can, because all of us benefit when we do that and work together.
This is a critical infrastructure for this deep sea port, and this port is truly a gateway to the north.
I mean, this is about what rural Newfoundland's about. We have a port that was inactive, and otherwise we owned a port that we really had no other choice but to tear it down, which would cost money, or we can revitalise it, which you're revitalising the community. You're not revitalising the port, you're revitalising the community.
For NTV News, I'm Colleen Lewis in Lewisporte.
North American markets end the day in negative territory following the U.S. inflation report. The TSX dropped 144 points to 36,814. The venture exchange down 8 points to 1,003. The Dow fell 114 to 53,464, and the Nasdaq was off by 21 to 26,130. Gold down $62.16 to $4,595.01 U.S. an ounce. Brent crude oil down $1.09 to $87.49 U.S. per barrel. The Canadian dollar down 0.23 to 72.05 cents U.S. Fortis up 59 cents a share to $76.76. Labrador iron ore down 38 cents to $26.92, and Altius Minerals down 93 cents to $66.40.
Tonight's weather
brought to you by Chevrolet's Employee Pricing for You. Get up to $14,852 cash purchase credit on a 2026 Chevrolet Silverado ZR2.
Hello,
Welcome back.
Thank you. Hello, stranger, I was about to say.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I didn't mean to take your words
okay.
there. It's great to have you back.
Thank you very much.
You had a great vacation.
It was a good trip, and but yes, always happy to be home at the end of it.
Absolutely. Yes. Ryan Harding is here now. It's hot, hey?
Yes, it's still quite warm.
Yeah. I mean, I know where you were, it was kind of hot as well.
It got warmer, but then it cooled down, but the heat, I guess, followed me.
It did. Followed you home. Humidity followed you home, too. Boy, oh boy, Ryan, I could not get a wink of sleep last night.
Now, it looks like some facial hair did, too, there, Mike, buddy.
I know.
Clear looking.
It's the annual vacation beard. Maybe keep it till Labor Day. We'll see.
I like it. We polled the newsroom. I think most people in the newsroom really like it.
Yes.
Sharon Snow really likes it, too.
She did, yes. I think among viewers it's a bit more divisive. I get some letters sometimes. We'll see what happens. Yes.
We'll see what happens.
Distinguished is what we call it. Distinguished, Michael. Welcome to the club. All right, let's take a quick peek out. Yeah, it was humid yesterday, a little bit dropped off from that today. Basically, we're going to be able to copy and paste it right across the island into tomorrow. So what today felt like, what today looked like, is what we have for tomorrow. It's as simple as that. Right now it's 25 degrees in St. John's with the sun and cloud. Feels like 29. 24 hours ago, it felt like 34, but that top feels like temperature was 37. It was only about 31 today in St. John. So down a little bit, and that's where we're going to be tomorrow. You can take a look out and see just how gorgeous of an evening we're experiencing as a province. Newfoundland through to Labrador. We'll start in Daniels Harbour, jump into that sun in Corner Brook, pick it up in Clarenville, and show it off in the capital in St. John's as well. Up into Labrador last night, we did talk about a little bit of increased cloud. Churchill Falls through to Happy Valley Goose Bay on the back end of the afternoon into the evening. That looks to be showing itself, but so too those beautiful skies on the coast. Cut right through to Chateau Pond. All right, where do we go from here? Well, we go to the big land, because also last night we talked about the chance of some thunder and lightning passing through Happy Valley Goose Bay in the evening. Looks like we saw just that. Caden got an absolutely wonderful shot of the flash, and Kurt got us an absolutely wonderful shot of the strike. Kurt Murley sending in some beauties with Caden there out of Happy Valley Goose Bay. That was last night. This was this morning in Mary's Harbor as Kim started her workday with some pretty pink skies. Cotton candy clouds almost, hey? Now, take a look at how things started down in Rogers Cove. How you doing, Rogers Cove? Rosemary sending in a shot here, watching the fog actively burn out, the sun doing its job. Gander Bay glowing up there. Now, Gull Pond, across from, well, either Cox's Cove or Goose Arm, had a lovely day for a hike up above. John taking a somewhat of an aerial view from afar of that Gull Pond. Gorgeous day for it. John, thank you for that. Over into Norris Point, nothing but blue skies just about. Perry showing us what his morning coffee looked like. And a view of Woody Point, I would believe that would be Perry. Is that true? Thank you for your photo. How's Pilley's Island doing? Pilley's Island, I gotta tell you, my great-grandmother's from Pilley's Island. Pansy Snow sending in a beautiful shot there, showcasing the beauty that was, that is, and will be tomorrow as well. And we'll finish off this journey in Chapels Cove of Harbor, Maine. Chapels Cove, Lakeview. Phoebe, done with the humidity, patiently waiting for Halloween. Sure, look, I hear that there's a lot of people who share that sentiment. I'm not sure if 38 feels like is it for me. But today I could handle. Not too bad. 38 did have me feeling a little bit like the fella in that photo there. So thanks one and all for the photos. Appreciate that. Onward and upward we go. So too with that temperature. The Avalon average tomorrow, daytime high is going to be 25 degrees. You can see we capture that right at the tail end of the day. What about the Humidex? Well, we can add that in too. We'll see that start warmer. Look at that, 6 a.m. feeling like 27. And then by the lunch hour, it's feeling like 30. And that looks to hold and start to break in and around the supper hour. So another warm one in terms of how it feels tomorrow. West and central looks like that's going to peak on Friday. And in fact, this doesn't tell the whole story. Gander Bay North, by the way. Trudy sent it in that photo from behind. It's going to be right at the end of the Friday into parts of Saturday where that real top feels like temperature comes in for central and the west coast before falling off a little bit. We push through and add some more communities into these daytime highs without the feels like. We can see lovely on the south-facing side of the island, specifically the southwest side. It looks like we're going to see a little cooler temperature there with some south wind off of the water up into Labrador. What we're going to see is, yeah, some great daytime highs inland, but coastal, we're going to get that wind shift and come from the north. So it's going to drop the temperatures right around the supper hour, but it's going to do a little bit more than that. It's going to help taper off the one little blemish on the radar. So we'll take a look at that radar and show that there is still some moisture in the air, and we're actually going to start tomorrow morning much like this morning, a little extra cloud on that east side. Wait for that fog on the south-facing side of it to burn off. The western side of the Great Northern Peninsula seeing some cloud as well, and then the sun doing its job and a high-pressure system helping out with that as well. We'll draw our attention right there in the afternoon to Labrador, and this is where we're starting to see that wind shift. So we have a west-southwest wind and an east-northeast wind kind of coming together. That's forming a little bit of rain, but what we're seeing once we get into that absolutely lovely sun and cloud, mostly sun morning, is that rain combat with that wind and just kind of get broken up, so maybe never even reach the coastal communities. And that's about all we've got to talk about in terms of anything in the sky. And as you can see, as we push in, look at the difference with that wind in Nain and Makkovik compared to the south wind in Happy Valley Goose Bay at 21 degrees. So another red letter day tomorrow, Newfoundland right into Labrador, lovely temperatures, bit of humidity in there as well. And it looks like Tony, Marie, and Michael, we're going to see that last into Friday for a lot of our communities, but not all, before we do see some rain on Saturday. We'll pick that up in the 5-day forecast.
All right, thanks so much, Ryan. The City of St. John's revealed this week that it ended 2025 with a surplus of $6.7 million. But what does that mean for taxpayers? NTV's Kyle Brookings explains.
The city budgeted to spend more than $378 million in 2025. Instead, it finished the year with a surplus of $6.7 million. Mayor Danny Breen says the amount equates to 1.8% of the total budget.
When you consider that it's a $375 million budget, then $6 million is pretty much say that we were on target with budget. We were off by 1.8%, which really says a lot about the budgeting system here at City Hall and the work done by our staff in ensuring that we're making the budget the right amount for the services that we're prepared to that we're offering residents at that time.
The city says the surplus came from a combination of higher than expected revenues and lower spending.
Too, there was some expenses that come about that are ones that get added during the year. They couldn't be foreseen. For example, we continue to spend more money on security, certainly in the pedestrian mall and in other parks.
But the mayor cautions that a surplus isn't simply money that can be handed back to taxpayers. Instead, the money will be saved for a rainy day.
Yeah, the amount of money that's we've been posting surpluses for the past number of years. The accumulated surplus right now is around $20 million that we've built through those surpluses. And we usually would use them for one-time expenses or anomalous expenses that come up.
With the city beginning its 2027 budget deliberations this fall, the question remains, will there be any tax breaks for residents of St. John's this year? In St. John's, Kyle Brookings, NTV News.
We have an update to a story we brought you last week. Changes have been made to how patients at the Dr. S. Beckley Health Center in Grand Bank can book their medical appointments after nearby residents expressed their frustrations. For several years, patients at the Grand Bank Health Center could only call to book a medical appointment on the 15th of each month. Now, as of Monday, September 14th, Newfoundland and Labrador Health Services says patients will be able to call each Monday to request an appointment. Appointments are limited and will be booked on a first call basis. Patients will be contacted directly to advise of this change in the appointment booking process.
With growing concerns over the cost of food in our province, NDP leader Jim Dinn hosted a panel with local organizations today to talk about solutions. NTV's Andrew Connors now with more.
Put into food banks and for those families.
NDP leader Jim Dinn brought together organizations from across the province to discuss food insecurity.
We've got people from Food First NL, Single Parents Association, Bridges to Hope, and you've got the Food Producers Forum.
Food insecurity is a growing concern, and Dinn says the problem has only gotten bigger and more serious over the years.
We have people people who are diabetic and require a specialized diet. So they have a dietary supplement from the government, but that's nowhere near enough. You can walk into a supermarket now, walk out with $100 worth of groceries in one bag.
Dinn says the NDP will look into publicly funded grocery stores as a potential solution to this problem come the fall.
When it comes to what we're looking at in the fall is a resolution on investigating how grocery prices are impacting the ability of people to afford food, but one of those is looking at publicly owned grocery stores as a way of making sure that the basics are affordable, offers that extra competition to the main grocery stores. This is another way which we can actually drive down food prices and for those who are in need of it for sure.
Bridges to Hope was one of the organizations taking part in today's event. Executive Director Leslie Burgess says the organization recently saw its busiest month on record.
I mean, I think that at this point, food bank demand has increased so much in recent years that food banks are really at a breaking point. In July, so last month, Bridges to Hope saw its busiest month ever on record. We saw almost 2,000 visits to the food bank, and that's just one food bank in one city in the province.
Burgess also talked about potential solutions to poverty in St. John's.
I think there are a number of ways. Obviously, the biggest one, the one that's going to be the most effective for the largest amount of people, are improvements to incomes and income supports. Whether that's EI federally or income support provincially, I think that would be the biggest way to help.
The purpose of today's discussion at the Wesley Church was to create dialogue between organizations in the province who have been working to fight food insecurity. The NDP believes this will strengthen food security in the province. For NTV News, I'm Andrew Connors.
One person was sent to hospital with serious injuries after an off-road vehicle crash Saturday night. The RCMP say it happened just before midnight in the area of Memorial Drive in Clarenville. The person driving the side-by-side vehicle was taken to hospital for treatment of what police are calling serious life-altering injuries. The off-road vehicle was seized as part of the investigation, which is ongoing. Police ask any witnesses or anyone with cell phone, dash camera, or surveillance video related to the crash to contact Clarenville RCMP or Crime Stoppers.
Bay St. George RCMP is asking for your help as they try to identify the driver of a red pickup truck reported for dangerous operation on the Trans-Canada Highway Sunday morning. In this video, the truck, which is believed to be a Ford F-150, enters the ditch on the westbound side of the highway at a high rate of speed. The area was a marked construction zone at the time, and crews were working along the shoulder of the highway. The investigation continues, and anyone with information or video footage is asked to contact the RCMP.
Police are investigating an apparent case of road rage in St. John's. Back on July 21st, the RNC was called to a case of property damage at the intersection of Portugal Cove Road and Newfoundland Drive. They say a man got off his motorcycle at a red light, damaged the driver's side mirror of a gray Honda CR-V, and then fled the area. The man is described as about 20 years old, wearing a Harley-Davidson long-sleeved shirt and a bucket-style helmet. He was riding a black and orange Harley-Davidson motorcycle. Anyone with information is asked to contact the RNC or Crime Stoppers.
Two people who got lost near a trail in the Buckens area have been found and returned home safely. It was shortly after 8:30 last night when Grand Falls Windsor RCMP received a report of two people who'd gotten lost after leaving a trail near Buckens. The pair were not injured and were able to provide their coordinates, but they told police they could not find their way back to the trail. Local Red Indian Lake ground search and rescue volunteers were called in. They traveled to the coordinates provided by the pair, found them, and safely brought them home.
Still ahead in tonight's news, Lauren Davis tells us about a choir looking for new singers in your community. Ryan Harding has the latest in the weather forecast. And when we come back on The Inside Story, we'll hear more from Hydro CEO Jennifer Williams on the new Churchill Falls deal. This is the NTV Evening News Hour. Welcome back to the NTV Evening News Hour. Tonight on The Inside Story, she was a key member of the negotiating teams for both versions of the Churchill Falls MOU. Today, Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro CEO Jennifer Williams sat down with NTV's Ben Cleary to talk about the new deal and how it compares to 1969.
The one thing that I hear from Newfoundlanders and Labradorians consistently is it's a very confusing deal. It's very complex. It's hard to understand, but they just want to know, can this agreement end up like 1969, in where we find ourselves locked into a long-term deal, not getting the value for the power? Do you think that's possible, that can happen in this agreement?
Right. Specifically, when I think about 1969 versus this moment, number one is we have the lessons of the past, right, in a couple of situations that we obviously carry with us every single day of what that looks like. And specifically with 1969, it had a flat price. And when you consider inflation, it actually then diminished in purchasing power. That is absolutely not the case here now. So we've learned those lessons of the past and we've incorporated those into this agreement, where, as I mentioned, we have significant escalation and then we have inflation protection as well. And then just on a couple of the other pieces is that we've really done our best to de-risk the province in many of the aspects of the whole river development. But anybody who can say, I have perfect foresight of exactly what things are going to look like in 50 years, and in year 49, somebody will say they were perfect back in 2026. I think, we'd be silly for us to say that we have perfect foresight. But what we have done is have had the best people inside this organization. We've had a great negotiating team. We've had a clear mandate. We've had excellent experts assist us. All of those together, putting our heads together, and I will say the passion that we have for this fall, knowing our names are also going to be associated with it. We carry that weight all the time, and you're factoring in everything possible. If we could be paralyzed by trying to consider everything that's 50 years out, well, you'll never be able to do that. So do you remain paralyzed and not do something? Or do you take all the information available to you as possible, including history, and do everything you can to de-risk that, go forward? And I think that's what we've done.
Donald Trump issued a new threat today in response to Canada's counter tariff, saying, quote, "Time to teach Canada."
Brought to you by
Beauty Tone Paint. We believe the colors around us inspire the places we call home. Canada's #1 Canadian-owned and Canadian-made retail paint brand. Only at your local home hardware.
How we doing, Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada? Not too difficult to forecast here tonight. A whole lot of sun in Fort McMurray, 29 degrees, lovely. Sun and cloud through the prairies beyond Winnipeg before we pick up some rain in northern Ontario, which is on its way through to the Toronto region later this evening. But for now, sun and cloud in 24, up 2 into Montreal, down 4 into Halifax. And we're holding our own here in Newfoundland and Labrador with the temperatures 25 St. John's, 20 in Labrador City. All right, we'll bring it home the best way we know how. In the water, take a look at this. How's Bay Roberts doing? There's a basking shark. Look at the mouth on that thing. Relatively safe, not in there for you. I don't care what you say. That's a dinosaur. That is an absolute prehistoric creature swimming up, and Gloria and Bob sending in that photo. Pretty cool. Do you know much about those? I didn't. They are the world's second largest fish to the whale shark. A whale shark can get up to 40 feet long, basking shark up to 30 feet. For comparison, we see this creature come through. 30 feet would be the average utility pole. It would be the average length of a delivery truck, and it would be the average length of the center or the track of a cricket pitch. Pretty cool. Listen, there's cricket in this province, Newfoundland and Labrador. Cricket NL, look them up. The Renegades, St. John's Renegades, beat the NL Hurricanes by 26 runs on the weekend past. Hurricanes, you say? Haha. Do you like that? Now listen, not a hurricane, but a tropical wave we're going to want to watch in the Atlantic into tomorrow, really. There's a 70% chance of that forming into a tropical storm. That doesn't necessarily mean it's coming our way. That just draws the attention to the point it could be there. The only real reason why I bring it to attention here this evening is we went over the names of a lot of these, I guess it would be 3 or 4 weeks ago now when we entered officially into hurricane season. This name was always going to be the 4th name that came up, and if that does transition into a tropical storm, it will go by the name of Dolly. There you go. Now, we can see here as we move on, it's not quite taking the shape through into Saturday morning, but what we are seeing is some rain and a long runway of it, hey, in and towards our province, the island portion specifically, and then what we saw start on Friday come from the rest of Canada, which is what we're seeing in northern Ontario and southern Ontario now, reach the coastline of Labrador. All right, let's take a look. Before we get to any of that, we've got a lovely Thursday that we've talked about to get through. Here's some of those daytime highs. The further inland you go on the Avalon and eastern side of the island, the closer to 30 without that humidity you get. Clarenville leading the way at 28. 26 with a whole lot of sun into Gander, matched in Grand Falls, Windsor. Bay Vert through to Lewisporte, 28 apiece. A little cooler in Port au Choix, but we'll take 19, matched down with Harbour Breton. Bonjour, St. Pierre, 20 degrees, 24 in St. Anthony. Lovely, I tell you, 27. Happy Valley, Goose Bay. And then we talked about those top numbers on the coastline falling right off the table as that west wind gets overtaken by the northeast wind, hey? All right, let's take a look at that 5-day forecast. Well, we saw that rain come up, didn't we, on this Saturday, and growing a little bit. Looks like there's a break on Sunday for the eastern side of the island before the rain returns on Monday. So we'll forget about that for now. We'll focus in on tomorrow and Friday, which is absolutely delightful, and Sunday adding in a 3-pack in there. A little extra cloud on the south coast on the Friday, but the 21 degrees does hold. Rain comes in on Saturday, also a break on Sunday, and then we return to that activity in the form of rain on Monday. A little cooler, 3-degree drop-off from Sunday to Monday. Not feeling it in the overnight, though. It's a little cooler in the overnights in Central. Remember we had a frost risk not that long ago? and yet that 28 degrees going to feel like it's in the 30s. We're up and we're down on the island, I tell you. Yes, that rain into the Sunday, up and down as well, and back into the rain on Monday. So you see a trend here, and we'll see it on the west coast as well. We'll add in the chance of some thunder showers on the Saturday for the west coast with 22 degrees, down to 18 on Monday, up into the northern peninsula, following the trend. Sun and cloud, lovely. Thursday, Friday, into the teens, Saturday through to Monday. Sunday bookended once again by some rain, so Sunday looks like the day to enjoy on the weekend, and it's a little bit different on the south coast of Labrador. We'll add in a little bit of rain left over from the Saturday into the Sunday, and then continue on with some rain on Monday. And a big drop off. Look at that, Thursday down to Monday, cut in half, 26, trailing down to 13 degrees. It's 16 down to 12 for the north coast. Again, look at that 16 to 8. That's the difference in the west and the northeast wind. Rain comes in here on Saturday and Sunday, and a reminder that tomorrow afternoon with that sun and cloud, there is that little pocket of rain caught in between those two wind directions. We'll see if that reaches the coastline or not. Radar's indicating not so far. Happy Valley Goose Bay will add the chance of some thunder showers in on the Saturday, finish off some rain on Sunday before the sun breaks out, and get right back to it with a cooler 13 degrees on Monday. And we'll finish off, as always, the 5-day forecast here this evening in Labrador West, where that rain does approach pretty early Friday morning, to be fair. Spends the day moving across, finishes nice and early Saturday, only to return on Sunday. And it looks like we get the break on the Monday with just some extra cloud at 14 degrees. We'll see you soon.
The Toronto Blue Jays rallied late, scoring 2 runs in the 9th inning, but came up short anyway, losing to the Kansas City Royals 5-3 last night.
Let's go to the bottom of the 8th. Bases loaded for Ernie. He's the go-ahead run, and he's down. He's down in all kinds of pain.
Oh, no.
Sensitive area.
Uh-huh.
He was able to get back up and got a big ovation from the Blue Jays faithful after that. All he can do is laugh, right? Very next pitch. Just give me a second, guys. I don't think he's 100% just yet. Not there just yet. Few pitches after that. He connects, but no. Strands all 3 of those base runners. The Jays went 0 for 10 with runners in scoring position through 8 innings. 5-1 Royals now in the 9th. Jays down to their final out. 2 on for that guy, Nathan Lucas. And Lucas comes through. Brings both of those runners home to cut into that lead. Lucas going for the double, but no, out at second. That ends the game. A costly play with Vladdy on deck as the tying run. The Jays would challenge, but the call would stand as Toronto drops the series opener, while KC winning its 9th straight game.
We're going to take a break now on the NTV Evening News Hour, but do stay with us. When we come back, Lauren Davis is going to be in your community. And there's a new choral program that's looking for youth voices. Could it be you? We'll find out next. Welcome back to the NTV Evening News Hour. The choral program at Solara Youth Voices will be getting underway in just a few weeks, and they're looking for singers. NTV's Lauren Davis has the details now on your community.
Hello, I'm here in beautiful Cowan Heights, and I'm here to talk to the folks from Solara Youth Voices, and we're going to talk all things, well, let's go inside and find out. Now I'm here with Christina Acton. They are the artistic director of Solara Youth Voices, and I'm also here with Nick LeBlanc. He is the assistant director of Solara Youth Voices. Now, can you chat a little bit about your choir?
Absolutely. So Solara is going into its 2nd year. It is a choral outreach program that Nick and Kira Davis and I started in September of 2025 so that we could bring a education-focused, low-commitment, but not low-effort choir to St. John's with help and support from the Quintessential Vocal Ensemble.
Why is it important for choirs like this, and why did you start it?
When Kira and Christina were beginning to decide on what Solara was going to look like, a lot of the things that they kept coming back to were education-based. So there's a lot of incredible performance opportunities in choir in St. John's, and we are in part a performance choir. We had our first solo performance in May of last year, but in the rehearsal room, we are primarily an education-based choir. So we focus every week on a different musical topic and something that is just maybe underrepresented for the kids in our choir in their other learning. So it's important because music's important in every aspect of life, and we believe that very strongly.
For the choir, anything upcoming, and where can people find you?
Well, we are going to be starting our new season on September 14th, which is a Monday. We rehearse every Monday at Lake Crest at 4:30, from 4:30 to 6. And on September 14th, we're going to be meeting with all the kids, whether they're new or returning, just to hear their voice, do some voice placements. We're an unauditioned group. We're very accessible. We're open to anyone who wants to give it a try. But we want to know what voices we're working with so that we can really tailor the music to them and make sure everybody feels comfortable and good while singing. So we have voice placements on September 14th, and we're going to be doing some performances throughout the year, hopefully with some different groups in the area. We are in talks to do collaborations with all different wonderful music and choir people in the city, and we're really looking forward to the year we have upcoming.
Thank you so much. And that's what's happening in your community. I'm Lauren Davis with NTV.
A rumor that two high-profile friends might actually be family has inspired a new show. CNN's David Daniel has that and more in our Hollywood Minute.
Maybe it's not a total coincidence that you and Matthew are always scrapping like brothers.
Well, Mac, are you saying
you and Matthew might be brothers?
Yes.
Here's your first look at Brothers, starring Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson as fictionalized versions of themselves, whose already turbulent lives are turned upside down by the possibility they're related. The comedy series premieres September 23rd on Apple TV.
Oh, you are already falling in love with me.
I'm gonna make you wish you were dead.
More McConaughey, maybe. Variety reports Paramount is developing a sequel to How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, with Kate Hudson on board as a producer. The idea is to have Hudson and McConaughey reprise their roles from the 2003 original. We'll see whether he thinks that's all right, all right, all right.
Jeez, what kind of spells you put on her?
Obsession is officially a phenomenon. The acclaimed low-budget horror movie has topped $500 million at the global box office. It's now the top-grossing original film of the 2020s and the highest-grossing movie ever acquired at a film festival. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Stay with us while we take one more break on the NTV Evening News Hour. Ryan Harding will be back to recap the weather forecast. Looking lovely and sunny in St. John's. And when we return, Jim Furlong will have Today in History.
Welcome back to the NTV Evening News Hour. It was a milestone change in the way Americans watched their national pastime. Here's Jim Furlong with Today in History.
This was a big day in sports. It was a big day in television. On the 26th of August in 1939, the first Major League Baseball game was telecast. It was on W2XBS. That station later became WNBC. The announcer, of course, was Red Barber. The game was between the Reds of Cincinnati and the Brooklyn Dodgers. The game was from, of course, from Ebbets Field. It would be 1946 before television accepted baseball as part of its regular schedule. The first game, however, was between the Reds and the Dodgers, and it happened in 1939. It happened on an August day that happened to be, well, it happened to be this date in history. This is Jim Furlong for the NTV Evening News Hour.
Birthdays and anniversaries brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation. We are the foundation that takes action so we all can take care of each other.
Beginning this evening with this beautiful photo. You're looking at Ozzie and Angela Stringer. They're originally from Labrador City. They now live in Clarenville, and they are celebrating a 60th wedding anniversary. Happy 55th wedding anniversary. Going out to Francis and Frey Castle of Roddington. They now live in Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta. Leslie and Ella Francis Chapman from Bunyan's Cove are celebrating a 60th wedding anniversary. Happy 67th anniversary going out to Emma and Claude Ginchard of Clark's Beach. Happy 54th wedding anniversary this evening to Phyllis and Larry Fudge. Wayne and Teresa Wareham of Gander are celebrating a 54th wedding anniversary. I bet they look exactly the same. Happy 60th anniversary going out to Gordon and Ivy Lambert of Southport. Adrian Power of Chapel's Arm. Let's try that again. Adrian Power of Chapel Arm celebrating a big 94th birthday. Happy 56th wedding anniversary going out to Leonard and Evelyn Power. They are in Wabush. Francis Lewis, residing at the John Gray Center in St. Anthony, is celebrating a 95th birthday. Happy 64th wedding anniversary to Edward and Eleanor Daw. They still enjoy a good time by the look of that. Happy 60th anniversary to Roy and Betty Harding. Elsie Norman is celebrating a big 91st birthday. Happy 56th wedding anniversary to Linda and Kevin Froud of Bergen's Cove. Congratulations to you. Happy 63rd wedding anniversary to Albert and Carrie Dyke. They live in Eastport. Marie and Nelson Hefford are celebrating a 53rd wedding anniversary. Happy 90th birthday going out to Chrissy Allen in Port-aux-Basque. Gilbert and Bernice White are celebrating a big 60th wedding anniversary. Happy 90th birthday to Phil Hicks. Pinchgut Lake, we're told, staying at Melody Gardens. Congratulations to you. Happy 59th wedding anniversary to Geraldine and Roy Dwyer of St. John's. Happy 60th anniversary to Gus and Ruth Stuckless. And finally this evening, we want to say happy 69th wedding anniversary going out to this beautiful couple. You're looking at Hazen and June Walters in Gander.
Just happy birthday and anniversary to all that Dwyer family there. That's my best buddies, Nan and Pop. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Listen, some light wind here tonight, and we're going to see that transition into some light wind tomorrow. Where we see it the heaviest tonight is where we're going to see it the heaviest tomorrow morning. Port aux Choix through to Cowhead, and again, that wind on the coast in Labrador changing up a little bit and picking up in Makkovik and Nain right at the final moment tomorrow. But downgrading is that wind speed in St. John's and Corner Brook through to Pasadena. Going to be a great day for the beach tomorrow. Pasadena, 24 degrees by 2 p.m. The UV index, something to watch, I suppose, 6 out of 10, so sunscreen wouldn't go astray, and a little bit of humidity in there. And if you can't make it tomorrow, but you've got tonight open, well, it looks a little bit like this on Pasadena Beach. Brian letting us know just that. So a lovely evening ahead, an even better day tomorrow for all. Really, just that one little blemish on the coast of Labrador, and even that might not reach the communities on the coastline. So I said it before there, Tony, Marie, and Michael, a red letter day, just a little bit of humidity still left up.